Welcome back, my buddies, with another video. Today we want to talk about the fear of failure. I have 3 chapters planned, so let's dig right into how to conquer fear of failure and to actually become successful. I know that this subject is widespread and many people have talked about it on different ideas, and so yeah, like I'm showing up to the party too. With the first chapter, the fear of failure, like here, the smiley word does like, ooh. So we're all worried. We all worry too much. We shouldn't worry, but we still do. So I thought about it like a coin, where the fear of failure has 2 sides to it. The one side is the worry of failing our mission, and the other side is the worry of public humiliation. Let's start with the first one that I think is more important, while the other might be more urgent. But let's start with the important one. The impact that failing has on your family or family's finance is probably the thing that keeps you afraid, because you don't want to fail to provide. You don't want to fail to help them, and you don't want to spend time somewhere where it actually doesn't make sense or where you waste it. So the risk is that starting a business will fail your family's finance. And let me say to that, I understand that full-heartedly, but what I also think is there are different ways to start a business. And so we need to calculate the risk and not just say, oh yeah, starting a business is risky. That might not be the complete truth. So let's take a step back, look at different business models. Different business models come with different risks to them, because starting something as a side hustle with low money, bootstrapped, with just a few hours per day or per week, you'll end up taking longer for sure, but you take up less risk. On the other side, if we talk about the growth business styles of the unicorns of the startup valley, they need much money, they need a lot of contracts, they need teams, they need to grow fast. So that's all where more and more risk is. And so let's check out what actually is good risk. I have filmed some other videos on the channel already talking about similar ideas of finding a lifestyle business and how to actually make it work pretty good. The second thing is the worry of public humiliation, because if we do something, share something publicly, also my videos here on YouTube, they're out there for other people to see. And so if they don't, if they come and be like, hey, you don't do this or you don't do that, then I don't commit to what I'm actually saying. And this is another fear of ours of failure, that if we do something, we build it public and then fail in public, that that will have a big backlash on us. And while I understand that to some reason, you should not worry about it at all, because it is not important to you, because your goal is to make good decisions for your family, and that needs to be for your family. So focus on that and let other people talk about it, because people will always talk about people that do something different. And we live in a time where working a 9-to-5 might seem safe, but there is quite the risk connected to that too, because there's so much shift going on. And so you need to focus on your responsibilities and not what other people think of you. So those are the first 2 things to understanding the fear of failure. Let's close up that chapter and move on. Why I actually think that fear of failure can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's chapter 2, because you never really tried. That's something that I gave more and more thought to, and that the real problem is that fear of failure, or in that sense, failure is reality until you have a victory. And therefore, it is a pretty good self-fulfilling prophecy, because the real danger is that you have three thoughts, or I have three thoughts connected to it that we all do. Or many of us do. We never start, we half commit, and we always have an excuse. And with that, you've never really tried, and so you've set yourself up for failure from the start. So you pretty much say already the fear of failure becomes the reality of failure because of that. And so we need to really get deep into all three of those, because those three steps, I think, are most important on that journey to really trying, which that's what we need to do. Never starting, that's the first thing. You might be thinking, oh, who am I to even try it? Like, who am I to try to run a business? I've never learned that, and nobody in my family has done it, and I think that's quite true. While at the same time, if we're humble enough, we can learn quite a bit, because people are willing to teach you. People are willing to help you out, and so I know this is where most people get stuck, because I've seen that over and over again. I'm in it for the last 6-7 years already, so I've been quite involved in many businesses, and I've seen many people say like, "Oh yeah, I'm trying it," and maybe uploading one video, if at all, maybe just like register the email address, and it's like, oh yeah, I have my new business, but you never really started. And waiting for the day that might come where you're like, oh yeah, I dream of having a business, I want to have a business, and someday I'll get to it, someday will never come. That's the truth. The day sadly never shows up where it's like, today is the right day to start a business. That's not true. Let me encourage you with this. Let starting not get in your way, because starting won't hurt you. It's like Nike always says, just do it. What do you have to lose? If you start on a little side project, what do you have to lose? Maybe 20 hours a month, or maybe $100. It's nothing that you can get back. So I know starting is hard, but trust me on this, once you get started, it becomes easier. There is a while where it's also quite difficult, because that's the valley of despair, as many have called it. But even sitting here in the valley of despair, I know that if I just keep doing and showing up every day, I'll sooner or later get out of the valley of despair. But what gets easier is you become more comfortable talking to a camera, which I'm I'm German, so I've uploaded a lot of videos in German, and so on this channel I started in English because I thought that might be a fun way to start, and I wanted to challenge myself a bit more. And so it was always the fear of what my English is not good enough, or my pronunciation is not good enough. So I did it anyways, and now it feels like I'm getting more and more comfortable talking in English to the camera, because I know that I can help you best when I actually speak to you. So that's what gets easier with time. Let's look at the next of the hurdles to actually break the self-fulfilling prophecy. It's half committing. That's there is a difference, and that difference is real between trying and giving it all you got. The difference is huge. When I was my year abroad in the States, I knew I wanted to play American football, because in my mind, I saw it a few times and it would complete my experience. That was my expectation to it, that it's like, oh yeah, if I go to the States, I get a cowboy hat, I get cowboy boots, and I play football. So that's what I did. I actually have 2 pairs of cowboy boots, 1 pair of one hat, a few belt buckles, and I played football, which that was a really cool experience in and of itself. So I mean, anyway, so I got in the team. I had to show up for a practice camp, 2 weeks of just practicing, which, yeah, I wasn't expecting that hard. But I was committed. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. It's fun. We'll just stick with it, and it worked. But many boys that showed up in the practice quit after a week, after 2 weeks, after a month, because something was not fully committing to them. I get it. Like, not everything is for everybody. Sure, fair enough. But there is a difference in giving it a shot and just trying it because you feel like it. There's a real try you can do, and that is being fully committed to it for a time. And this is setting yourself up to give something a real shot, because that's what I'm seeing is like people try, but trying is like dipping a toe in the water. How do you try? Like, how do you know if you can swim if you only dip one toe in the water? That's kind of not working. That's not how it works. So uploading just one video without a plan isn't really trying, isn't really committing. So what you should do instead is the 100-day challenge. Set yourself up and commit yourself to give 100 days to one thing. Commit to it, do it, and after the 100 days are over, you can be like, okay, did that work? Did I like it? Is it working for me? What are the results? And if you do that, I promise you, if you fully commit to the 100 days and have no excuse for that time, because that's the next thing, you will see the results and you will figure out if you really want it or not. And that's true for starting a business all the way. If you want my help with that, comment below and then we can figure something out, how I can help you best. But commit to the 100 days. The half commitment does not get you anywhere. It's like, oh, I want that, but not really. So just do it. The third thing here on the obstacles for the breaking the prophecy is always excuses. My grandpa always has a saying, someone has died before because he didn't have another excuse anymore. The point is that nobody has ever died because of lack of excuses. You've never heard one, right, that died of like not having an excuse? We're never poor of an excuse. We're never like not able to have like, oh yeah, it was someone else's fault. And yeah, over time, you get really good at coming up with socially acceptable excuses. And I think it's interesting because with that, we learn to not own up and take responsibility. And so this is what you need to do now is stop making excuses, learn to own up, to be fully responsible for your actions or inaction in that matter. And then we can all move on, because that is how you actually get something done and you want to like go forward. So if you didn't see results because you made excuses or it's someone else's fault, don't blame anybody else for not getting it done, because we all know that people get it done every day. So there is a way, you just haven't found it yet, which is a way better way of phrasing it. And then you just need to also commit to it and figure it out, where we're back at the commitment of 100 days. Just do it, figure it out, let no excuse get in your way, and then you'll see results, because those two go exactly well together. So you need to start, you need to commit, and let no excuses stop you. So how do we actually see it as the self-fulfilling prophecy. The real problem is fear of failure is always right. When you don't start, you failed. When you didn't commit, you failed. When you make an excuse, you failed. So this is a real problem. Until you are winning and doing it, you will always be right with failure. And I know this might sound quite harsh, but that's the truth. And being afraid of what is true is not the way that's going to get you there. So accept that at the beginning, you'll be failing. You will fail your way to success, I think. And that's just how life is. So I have another story for you. Time is going by so fast always. I was so afraid when I wanted to ask out my wife. When she was just a lady at my church, and I was afraid that she would say no to me, because if you are interested in someone, if you like someone, you don't want them to be like, no, I don't want to hang out with you. So that took me weeks of waiting, of like working up the courage to walk up to her and ask her. So it was like, I think almost a month later when after my decision of like, okay, I just need to ask her out because I am interested to date her. So it took me almost a month to actually ask her out. And the realization behind that is that I need to ask her out. Because if I don't ask her, I will never go out with her. And until that point, it's just an idea of going out with her, because it's not happening if I don't step up and ask. And so this is how much I was afraid, but I would not have married her like 3.5 years ago if I didn't ask first to go out on a date. So to get where you want to be, or to get where you want to go, you need to take the fear and still do it anyways. Now, I mean, she said yes, and now we're married for over 3 years, all because I didn't let that fear in the beginning control me. Yes, I was afraid, but I wanted to go out with her even more. I enjoy being married, so that worked out. But if I would have been stuck feeling afraid and letting that fear hunt me or control me, I would probably be still single. And so that's true for so many things. And that is also true for starting a business. It's the same thing. It's committing to it. It's stepping up, even if you're afraid, even if you're seeing the fear that you could be a failure, because you are a failure until you prove otherwise. So let's see the chapter 3. Ooh, we have a championship here. It's the overwhelm of success. You don't even know what winning means. And that is something that is really hard, because we love to win. Like, I'm always up to have a good victory. I enjoy winning a lot, and every time we play a board game, it's my goal to win. I don't like losing, so I'll give it my all to win. But there's one thing, though, in this whole thing. We don't even know how the success actually looks. We have a dream of it, but sometimes that seems so far-fetched, and we probably don't have many people in our lives that have proof of that success. So let's go back to dating and marriage. When you're single, you might have an idea of what marriage looks like. You have an idea and a dream of like, this is how I envision my married life to be. But until you're married, you actually don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. And similar with business too. Until you have a successful business, you don't know what a successful business actually looks and feels like and smells like and behaves like. And so that's the tough part. And what makes it more difficult is that maybe I don't know where you like what your social environment is like, but in my life I have a lot of marriages around me, a lot of families around me, and so even as a single, I could identify in other people's marriages what I liked, what I didn't like, what worked, and I could see a lot of working marriages. And so for me, the dream of what a marriage could be like was fairly specific because I've seen many examples. Now on the business side, it is always more distant because I don't have many businesses around me that thrive, that I can be a part of, that I can observe closely. I have a few, but they're all doing different things, and so it's hard to detect a pattern. And I mean, online we have a lot of business gurus telling us this worked, that worked, but I'm never quite sure if that's more clickbaity and catchy than reality, or how the different parts interact. And so that is something that I just want to share with you because I think it's important that we can get easily into self-doubt and doubting our vision, our dream, because we don't actually know how that will look in practice. And so sometimes the doubt of the idea and the doubt of dream sneak in, and that's what I call the overwhelm of success, is when you're overwhelmed because you don't know what you're actually doing. And so you're overwhelmed in the situation today, and that could be success, could not be success, and you're struggling with that. And so how do we get out of it the best way? And the best way is to have a system that will work and that you can act on. If you don't have that, then it's best. The second best option is to have a community of like-minded people failing their way to success too. And this is my mission with this YouTube channel, to start a community for men and dads to share the journey to success in business, to starting a business. So if that's something you're interested in, just leave a comment underneath. I'm glad to say that you're on board and that we can share that journey together.